Sam Chen wiped down his scissors for the third time that morning, watching the alien traffic flow past his shop window. The small barber shop sat tucked between a parts dealer and a food stand, catching the overflow from New Geneva Colony's busy spaceport. Most days brought a steady mix of humans and aliens needing grooming services before important meetings or long journeys. Today felt different, though. The usual chatter from the marketplace seemed muted, and fewer ships had landed since dawn. Sam adjusted the faded sign hanging outside his door and wondered if he should close early. A mechanical whir drew his attention as a four-armed Centauri trader pushed through the door. The alien's blue skin had turned pale around the edges and his breathing sounded labored. "Quick trim, please," the Centauri said, settling into the chair. "Have meeting with colony officials in 1 hour." Sam draped a protective cloth around the alien's shoulders and began working. His hands moved with practiced ease, trimming the trader's head tendrils to regulation length. The Centauri relaxed under his skilled touch. "You seem nervous today, friend," Sam said, keeping his voice casual. "Everything all right in the shipping lanes?" The trader's four eyes darted toward the window. "Strange reports coming from outer system. Ships going missing. Some say they see hunter vessels where none should be." Sam nodded but said nothing. He had heard similar whispers from other customers over the past week. Traders talked about phantom ships and cargo vessels vanishing without distress signals. The Colonial Defense Force claimed they were investigating, but their patrols had found nothing. After the Centauri left, Sam swept up the trimmed tendrils and prepared for his next customer. A human cargo pilot named Marcus had scheduled an appointment for noon, and Sam knew the man liked to talk about his runs to the inner colonies. But Marcus never showed up. Sam spent the afternoon organizing his tools and cleaning his equipment. The barbershop felt too quiet without the usual flow of customers. He was considering closing when a commotion erupted in the alley behind his shop. Sharp screeching echoed off the metal walls, followed by rough voices speaking in a language Sam didn't recognize. He moved toward the back door, pressing his ear against the cool metal surface. "Hold still, little beast," a gravelly voice snarled. "Boss wants you alive, but he didn't say anything about unharmed." More screeching followed, higher pitch this time. The sound reminded Sam of a wounded animal crying for help. His military training kicked in automatically, and he found himself reaching for the plasma cutter he kept for emergency repairs. Sam cracked open the door and peered into the alley. 3 massive aliens stood around something small and golden that cowered against the far wall. The aliens wore black tactical gear and carried heavy weapons. Their gray skin looked like stone, and bone ridges protruded from their skulls. Korthak bounty hunters. Sam had encountered their kind during his service with the Colonial Marines. They were known for taking any job that paid well, regardless of moral considerations. Seeing them in the colony's civilian sector meant trouble. The small creature they had cornered looked like nothing Sam had ever seen before. It resembled a dragon from old Earth legends, but only about the size of a house cat. Its scales shifted between gold and silver as it moved, and one wing hung at an awkward angle. Blood seeped from several wounds across its tiny body. "Please," the creature whispered in perfect human standard. "I mean no harm to anyone." The lead Korthak laughed and raised his weapon. "Save the begging for our buyer, little princess. He's paying good credits for live dragon spawn." Sam's blood went cold. Dragons were myth and legend to most humans, but apparently they were real enough for someone to pay bounty hunters to capture them. The small creature's intelligent golden eyes met his through the crack in the door. In that moment, Sam saw something that reminded him why he had left the military. Those eyes held the same desperate hope he had seen in civilian refugees during border conflicts, the same plea for protection from those who couldn't protect themselves. He pushed the door open and stepped into the alley. "That's far enough," he said, raising the plasma cutter. The tool wasn't designed as a weapon, but it could cut through most materials with ease. The 3 Korthak turned toward him with surprised expressions. The leader's bone ridges furrowed as he studied Sam's simple clothes and peaceful occupation. "Walk away, Barber," the bounty hunter said. "This doesn't concern you." "Actually, it does," Sam replied, moving closer to the wounded dragon. "That creature is bleeding in my alley, which makes it my business," The second Korthak raised his rifle. Human, you have no idea what you're interfering with. That thing is dangerous cargo worth more credits than your little shop could make in 10 years. Sam glanced down at the dragon again. It had stopped crying and was watching him with what looked like amazement. Despite its injuries, the creature's eyes showed fierce intelligence and dignity. Looks pretty harmless to me, Sam said. Just scared and hurt. Last warning, Barber. The leader growled. Step aside or we put you down with the beast. Sam tightened his grip on the plasma cutter and settled into a combat stance he hadn't used in 5 years. His heartbeat steadied as old instincts took over. The alley was narrow, which would limit the aliens' ability to spread out and use their superior numbers effectively. Sorry, boys, he said, moving between the hunters and their target. But I don't think I'm going to do that. The dragon made a soft sound that might have been gratitude. Sam kept his eyes on the bounty hunters, watching for the telltale signs that preceded violence. Your funeral, human, the leader snarled, bringing his weapon to bear. Sam dove to the side as plasma bolts seared the air where he had been standing. The fight for the dragon's life had begun, and Sam knew that neither he nor the small creature would survive if he failed to stop these hunters here and now. The first plasma bolt missed Sam by inches, leaving a smoking crater in the alley wall. He rolled behind a discarded cargo container and activated his plasma cutter. The tool hummed to life, its blue beam slicing through the air. Take him down. Quick, the lead Korthak barked. Someone might have heard those shots. Sam knew the bounty hunter was right. Colonial security would respond to weapons fire, but it would take them several minutes to reach this part of the district. He had to keep the dragon alive until help arrived, or find a way to end this fight on his own terms. The second Korthak moved to flank him while the third maintained covering fire. Sam recognized the tactic from his military days. These weren't random thugs. They had professional combat training. A plasma burst superheated the air above his head, forcing him to stay low. Sam heard the dragon whimpering nearby and risked a quick glance around the container. The small creature had dragged itself closer to the wall, leaving a thin trail of golden blood on the alley floor. Stay down, little one, Sam whispered. I'll get you out of this. The dragon's eyes widened with surprise. Most beings who encountered Korthak hunters simply ran for their lives. Few would risk death for a stranger, especially one from a different species entirely. Sam studied the alley's layout, planning his next move. The narrow space worked in his favor, but the bounty hunters had superior firepower and armor. He needed to use the environment and his knowledge of close-quarters combat. The flanking Korthak appeared around the left side of the container, rifle raised. Sam was waiting for him. The plasma cutter's beam sliced through the alien's weapon, cutting it in half. The Korthak stumbled backward, trying to draw a sidearm. Sam didn't give him the chance. He tackled the hunter, driving his shoulder into the alien's midsection. They crashed into a pile of supply crates, scattering metal components across the alley floor. The Korthak was stronger, but Sam had leverage and momentum. He drove his elbow into the hunter's throat, hitting a nerve cluster that would temporarily paralyze most humanoid species. The alien went limp beneath him. Bends down, the leader shouted. Circle around the other side. Sam grabbed the fallen hunter's sidearm and checked its power cell. Half charge remaining, enough for maybe 6 shots if he was careful. He had faced worse odds during the frontier wars, but never while protecting. A wounded civilian. The third Korthak appeared at the container's right edge, moving cautiously. Sam fired twice, forcing the alien to dive for cover behind a support pillar. The shots went wide, but they bought him precious seconds. Human, Thor. Leader called out, You're only delaying the inevitable. Surrender now and we'll kill you quickly. Counteroffer, Sam replied, adjusting his position. Leave now and I won't have to embarrass you in front of your crew. The Korthak's laughter echoed off the alley walls. Bold words for someone outnumbered and outgunned. Sam heard movement from multiple directions. The hunters were coordinating their final assault, probably planning to hit him from both sides simultaneously. He had maybe 30 seconds before they moved. The dragon caught his attention with a soft chirping sound. When Sam looked over, the creature was gesturing weakly toward a maintenance hatch in the alley floor. It was trying to help him find an escape route. But Sam had no intention of running. These hunters had hurt an innocent being, and they planned to sell it to whoever had placed the bounty. If he let them succeed here, they would continue hunting others like the dragon. "Listen to me, little one," he whispered. "When the shooting starts, you crawl toward that hatch and get as far away as you can." The dragon shook its small head frantically. "Cannot leave you," it said in its whisper-soft voice. "You risk life for mine." "That's what people do for each other," Sam said simply. "We protect those who need protecting." Before the dragon could respond, the two remaining Korthak launched their coordinated attack. They came around both sides of the container simultaneously, weapons blazing. Sam dropped flat and fired at the closer target. His first shot caught the alien in the leg, spinning him around. The second shot missed as he rolled to avoid return fire. A plasma bolt seared across his shoulder, burning through cloth and flesh. Sam bit back a scream and kept moving. The leader was advancing steadily, his rifle tracking Sam's position with professional precision. "End of the line, Barber," the Korthak snarled. Sam's remaining shots went into the support pillar the hunter was using for cover. The superheated metal began to glow and buckle. With a grinding shriek, the pillar collapsed, forcing the alien to scramble for new position. But Sam's luck was running out. The plasma burns on his shoulder made it hard to aim properly, and he was down to his last power cell. The injured Korthak was getting back to his feet, drawing another weapon despite his wounded leg. The leader emerged from behind the fallen pillar, rifle raised for a killing shot. Sam dove sideways, but he knew he wouldn't make it to cover in time. The plasma bolt caught him center mass, punching through his chest like a lance of liquid fire. Sam crashed into the alley wall and slid to the ground, his vision graying at the edges. "Should have minded your own business, human," the leader said, moving closer to check his handiwork. Sam tried to speak, but only managed a weak cough. Blood ran down his chin as he struggled to stay conscious. The dragon was crawling toward him, tears streaming from its golden eyes. "No die," the small creature whispered. "Please no die for me." The remaining Korthak were securing their gear and preparing to collect their prize. They had won, and Sam knew he was fading fast. The plasma bolt had done massive internal damage, more than even colonial medical technology could repair. But the dragon reached him before the hunters could intervene. Its tiny claws touched the edges of his wounds, and Sam felt a strange warmth spreading through his body. The creature's eyes began to glow with silver light. "What is it doing?" one of the Korthak demanded. "Stop it," the leader barked. "Don't let it use its power." But they were too late. The dragon pressed its small body against Sam's chest and released something that felt like liquid starlight into his wounds. The last thing Sam heard before losing consciousness was the soft sound of the dragon's final breath. When colonial security finally arrived, they found 3 unconscious Korthak, a dying human, and what appeared to be the crystallized remains of a small reptilian creature that dissolved into sparkling dust even as they watched. Pain woke Sam before the lights did. His chest felt like someone had rewired his nervous system with burning cables, and every breath sent sharp spikes through his torso. But he was breathing, which meant he was alive against all reasonable expectations. The medical bay's sterile white ceiling came into focus slowly. Monitoring equipment beeped steadily nearby, and the antiseptic smell of healing foam filled his nostrils. Sam tried to sit up and immediately regretted the decision. "Easy there, hero," a familiar voice said. Dr. Sarah Kim appeared at his bedside, checking the displays on his medical monitors. "You've been unconscious for 3 days and your body is still figuring out how to be alive again." Sam's throat felt like sandpaper. "The dragon," he croaked. "Small golden dragon. Is it?" Dr. Kim's expression grew puzzled. "The security team found some kind of crystalline residue near where you were shot. Analysis couldn't determine what it was, but it dissolved completely within hours." She paused, studying his chart. "Sam, what exactly happened in that alley?" Memories flooded back in painful waves. The bounty hunters, the wounded creature, the desperate fight, and finally that strange moment when the dragon had touched his wounds with glowing eyes. "I tried to save it," Sam said quietly. "But I failed." "Actually, I'm not sure you did fail," Dr. Kim said, pulling up a holographic display of his medical scans. "Look at this." The three-dimensional image of Sam's torso rotated slowly, highlighting areas in different colors. Where the plasma bolt had struck him, new tissue showed in bright blue against the normal green of healthy organs. "The wound should have been instantly fatal," Dr. Kim explained. "Plasma weapons at that range cause massive cellular disruption, but your tissue began regenerating at the molecular level within minutes of your arrival. We've never seen anything like it." Sam stared at the impossible image of his own body healing itself. "That's not normal human biology." "No, it's not," the doctor agreed. "Your cellular regeneration is operating at levels that shouldn't be possible without extensive genetic modification. And there's something else." She manipulated the display, zooming in on Sam's cardiovascular system. Tiny threads of silver light pulsed through his bloodstream like a secondary circulatory system. "This energy pattern appeared shortly after we stabilized you. It seems to be connected to your accelerated healing, but we have no idea what it is or where it came from." Before Sam could respond, the medical bay's emergency lights began flashing red. An automated voice filled the room with urgent announcements. "All personnel report to designated stations. Unknown vessels detected at system perimeter." This is not a drill. Dr. Kim's eyes widened as she checked her personal communicator. "Sam, I have to go. Colony Defense is mobilizing everyone with medical training." She hesitated at the door. "Try to rest. Whatever happened to you, your body is still adapting to the changes." Alone in the medical bay, Sam struggled to process what he had learned. The dragon had died saving him, somehow transferring part of its life force to keep him alive. The silver threads in his bloodstream were proof that something had fundamentally changed in his biology. A distant rumble shook the medical complex, followed by the unmistakable whine of atmospheric engines. Sam forced himself out of bed despite his body's protests and made his way to the nearest window. The sight that greeted him defied comprehension. Massive ships hung in the sky above New Geneva Colony like floating mountains. Their hulls seemed to be made of living metal that shifted between colors Sam couldn't name. Each vessel was easily the size of a small city, and they moved with organic grace that no mechanical ship should possess. More ships were emerging from hyperspace with each passing minute. Within an hour, the entire sky had been replaced by an alien fleet that dwarfed anything in colonial records. Sam's personal communicator chirped with an emergency broadcast from Admiral Ross, the colony's military commander. "Citizens of New Geneva, Colony." The Admiral's voice was tight with controlled tension. "We are currently in contact with representatives of what they call the Draconic Imperium. They have made no hostile actions, but they have also ignored our requests for them to identify their intentions." The broadcast paused as background voices discussed something urgent. "The alien fleet is requesting permission to send a diplomatic shuttle to the colony surface. They have specifically asked to meet with a colonial citizen named Sam Chen. If Mr. Chen is able to respond, please contact Colony Command immediately." Sam nearly dropped his communicator. The dragons had come looking for him personally. But how did they even know his name? Through the window, he watched a single shuttle separate from the largest ship and begin its descent toward the colony. Unlike the massive vessels above, this craft was elegant and graceful, resembling a crystalline bird more than a mechanical transport. The silver threads in Sam's bloodstream began to pulse faster, and he felt a strange recognition stirring in the back of his mind. Something was calling to him from that approaching shuttle, a presence both alien and oddly familiar. Dr. Kim's voice crackled over the medical bay's intercom system. "Sam, if you're awake, you need to get down to the main plaza immediately. Admiral Ross wants to speak with you before the aliens arrive." Sam looked down at his hospital clothes and the obvious bandages covering his chest. 3 days ago, he had been a simple barber trying to save a wounded animal. Now he was apparently the focus of first contact between humanity and a civilization powerful enough to darken the sky with their fleet. As he made his way toward the medical bay's exit, Sam caught his reflection in a mirror. His eyes looked the same, but there was something different about them now. A depth that hadn't been there before, as if he was seeing the world through multiple layers of reality simultaneously. The silver threads pulsed again, and Sam felt a presence touch the edge of his consciousness, not hostile but vast beyond comprehension, ancient beyond measure, and searching for something specific, searching for him. The shuttle had landed by the time Sam reached the colony's central plaza. Thousands of humans and aliens had gathered to witness first contact, but they maintained a respectful distance from the crystalline craft. Colonial Marines formed a loose perimeter, their weapons lowered but ready. Admiral Ross approached Sam with obvious relief. "Thank God you're alive, Chen. Do you have any idea why they're asking for you specifically?" Sam looked toward the shuttle, feeling that strange recognition growing stronger. "I think I saved someone important to them," he said quietly. The shuttle's boarding ramp extended with a sound like singing crystal. A figure emerged that made every person in the plaza fall silent. She was clearly not human, but she moved with such grace and dignity that she seemed to transform the very air around her. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, her features blended reptilian majesty with humanoid intelligence. Scales that shifted through impossible colors covered her skin, and her presence filled the plaza with harmonic vibrations that resonated in everyone's bones. But it was her eyes that made Sam's breath catch. They were the same golden color as the small dragon he had tried to save, but ancient beyond measure and filled with a sadness that spoke of recent loss. The being approached Sam directly, ignoring the colony's officials and military personnel. When she reached him, she knelt gracefully, placing one clawed hand over her heart. "Human called Sam Chen," she said, her voice carrying the weight of eons. "I am Empress Andra of the Draconic Imperium. You risked your life to save my daughter." The plaza erupted in shocked whispers. Sam felt the silver threads in his bloodstream blazing like stars as he realized the small creature he had failed to protect was the child of the most powerful being he had ever encountered. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I tried to save her, but I wasn't strong enough." The Empress raised her head, and Sam saw tears flowing down her scaled cheeks like liquid diamonds. "She is not dead, brave human. She lives within you now, bound to your spirit by the greatest sacrifice our people can make. You carry part of my daughter's essence in your blood." Sam looked down at his hands and saw the silver threads glowing brighter beneath his skin. The dragon had not died to save him. She had chosen to share her life force with him permanently. "But why?" Sam asked. "I'm nobody special. Just a barber who happened to be in the right place." Empress Andra rose to her full height, her presence now radiating something that felt like the birth of stars. "That, Samuel Chen, is exactly why you are the most special human in your galaxy." The silence that followed Empress Andra's words stretched across the plaza like a held breath. Sam felt thousands of eyes watching him, but his attention remained fixed on the ancient being before him. The silver threads in his bloodstream pulsed with increasing intensity, and he began to sense something else, a presence that felt young, curious, and unmistakably familiar. "She's still alive?" Sam whispered, hardly daring to believe it. The Empress nodded slowly, her golden eyes never leaving his face. "Princess Lyra chose to bind her essence to yours in the moment before her physical form dissolved. It is the most sacred gift our people can bestow, the sharing of our immortal spirit with another being." Admiral Ross stepped forward cautiously, his hand resting on his sidearm. "Your Majesty, with respect, we need to understand what this means for our colony and our people." Empress Andra's gaze shifted to the Admiral, and the temperature in the plaza seemed to drop several degrees. "Admiral Ross of the Colonial Defense Force, your concern for your people is noted and appreciated, but this matter extends far beyond your small outpost." She gestured toward the massive ships hanging in the sky above them. "The Draconic Imperium has ruled over 70% of this galaxy for more than 50,000 of your years. In all that time, no member of our royal family has ever performed a life binding with an alien species." Sam felt a flutter of movement in his chest, like a bird stretching its wings. The sensation was gentle but unmistakably real. Princess Lyra was trying to communicate with him. "Can I speak with her?" he asked. "Not in the way you understand speech," the Empress replied. "But you will learn to sense her thoughts and emotions as if they were your own. She is part of you now, Samuel Chen, and you are part of her." Dr. Kim pushed through the crowd of onlookers, her medical scanner already active. "The energy readings from Mr. Chen have increased dramatically since your arrival, Your Majesty. Is this transformation dangerous to him?" The Empress studied the scanner's display with interest. "Your primitive instruments can detect the bond? Fascinating." She looked back at Sam with something that might have been approval. "The transformation will enhance his natural capabilities, strength, speed, healing, and longevity, but it will also make him a target." "A target for what?" Sam asked, though part of him already knew the answer. "The Korthak hunters who captured my daughter were not acting independently," Empress Silandra explained, her voice hardening. "They work for the Void Syndicate, a coalition of species that seeks to overthrow the established galactic order. They have been testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses." She began walking toward the center of the plaza, and the crowd parted before her like water. Sam found himself following without conscious decision, drawn by the growing resonance between his transformed biology and her presence. For centuries, the Syndicate has sought a weapon that could be used against our people. A dragon bound to a non-dragon host would provide them with access to our most guarded secrets and abilities. The Empress paused, turning to face Sam directly. "They will stop at nothing to capture you." Sam felt Princess Lyra's essence stir within him, and suddenly he understood more than words could convey. The small dragon had not just saved his life. She had made him the key to either protecting or destroying her entire civilization. "Why would she take such a risk?" he asked. "She barely knew me." "Because," the Empress said softly, "in the moment, when you chose to stand between her and those who would harm her, you proved something that my people thought had been lost from the galaxy, which is the willingness to sacrifice everything for a stranger's welfare, with no hope of reward or recognition." Empress Silandra's scales shimmered with colors that seemed to express emotions Sam had no names for. "Such pure altruism has not been seen in the galaxy for millennia. Most species have evolved beyond such inefficient behavior." Admiral Ross approached them again, his expression troubled. "Your Majesty, our long-range sensors are detecting movement on the system's outer perimeter. Multiple ship signatures, unknown configuration." The Empress's demeanor changed instantly, becoming sharp and focused. "How many vessels?" "At least 40, possibly more. They're staying just outside our detection grid, but the pattern suggests a coordinated fleet movement." Sam felt Princess Lyra's presence become agitated within him, and he suddenly knew with absolute certainty what those ships represented. "It's the Syndicate, isn't it? They're coming for me." "Sooner than I expected," the Empress admitted. "They must have agents monitoring your colony's communications." She turned toward her shuttle and spoke in a language that sounded like singing crystal. Immediately, the draconic ships above began shifting into defensive formations. "Wait," Sam said, grabbing her arm before he realized what he was doing. The contact sent a shock of energy through both of them, and he felt Princess Lyra's joy at the connection between her mother and her chosen guardian. "You can't fight a war over me," Sam continued. "I'm not worth that many lives." Empress Silandra looked down at his hand on her arm with an expression of amazement. "No non-dragon has ever touched me without invitation and survived the contact. The bond between you and Lyra is stronger than I imagined." She placed her other hand over his, and Sam felt the vast weight of her consciousness brush against his mind. For a moment, he experienced a fragment of what it meant to be truly immortal, the accumulated wisdom and sorrow of 50,000 years of existence. "You ask me not to fight for you," she said quietly. "But you misunderstand the situation. The Syndicate will not stop with capturing you. They plan to use your bonded essence to create weapons that can kill dragons. If they succeed, they will hunt down every member of my species across the galaxy." The silver threads in Sam's bloodstream blazed brighter, and he felt Princess Lyra's determination flowing through him. The small dragon had not just saved his life. She had chosen him as her people's champion. Then teach me, Sam said, surprising himself with the firmness in his voice. If I'm going to be a target anyway, at least make me dangerous enough to matter. The Empress studied his face for a long moment, and Sam felt her consciousness probing the depths of his character. Whatever she found there seemed to satisfy her, because she nodded slowly. The bond will teach you many things naturally, but formal training will accelerate the process. She looked up at the approaching enemy fleet, then back at Sam with something that might have been hope. But first we must survive the next few hours. The first explosions lit up the edge of the system as the Syndicate fleet engaged the outer patrol ships. Sam felt Princess Lyra's fear and anger mixing with his own, as he realized that his simple act of heroism 3 days ago had just triggered the opening battle of an interstellar war. Your Majesty, Admiral Ross called out, our defense platforms are requesting permission to engage the hostile fleet. Empress Silandra's form began to shimmer and grow larger, revealing glimpses of her true draconic nature. Permission granted, Admiral, but keep your ships clear of the primary engagement zone. This battle will be unlike anything your people have ever witnessed. Sam watched in awe as the dragon ships above them began to glow with internal fire, preparing for combat against an enemy that had been planning this moment for decades. And somewhere deep in his chest, Princess Lyra's essence whispered that this was only the beginning. The battle above New Geneva Colony raged for 6 hours, turning the sky into a canvas of fire and lightning. Sam stood in the emergency command center, watching displays that showed combat beyond anything human technology could achieve. Dragon ships moved like living creatures, breathing streams of energy that could crack planets, while Syndicate vessels responded with weapons that bent space itself into deadly configurations. Casualties are mounting on both sides, Admiral Ross reported, his voice tight with strain. The Dragon fleet is holding the perimeter, but more Syndicate ships keep arriving. Sam felt each dragon death like a physical blow through his connection to Princess Lyra. Her essence writhed in anguish every time one of her people fell, and he began to understand the true cost of the war being fought over him. There has to be something I can do, he said to Empress Silandra, who maintained contact with her fleet through methods Sam couldn't comprehend. Your bond is still forming, she replied, without taking her attention from the battle coordination. Premature use of draconic abilities could kill you or sever the connection entirely. An explosion outside shook the command center as debris from a destroyed Syndicate ship impacted the colony's outer districts. Through the reinforced windows, Sam could see evacuation ships lifting off with civilian refugees. How long before they break through? He asked. At current attrition rates, perhaps 2 hours before our defensive line collapses, the Empress answered grimly. The Syndicate brought more ships than our intelligence predicted. Dr. Kim approached them with her medical scanner, its readings showing unprecedented activity in Sam's modified biology. The energy patterns are changing again. Whatever's happening inside him, it's accelerating. Sam felt it too. Princess Lyra's presence was growing stronger, more distinct. He could sense her thoughts more clearly now, along with fragments of her memories. Images of dragon worlds filled his mind, cities that floated among clouds, libraries carved into living crystal, gardens where flowers sang with the voices of long-dead poets. But he also saw darker memories, Syndicate raids on peaceful worlds, dragons hunted like animals for their essence, entire star systems stripped of life to fuel war machines designed to kill immortal beings. They've been preparing for this war for centuries, he realized aloud. The Syndicate isn't just trying to overthrow the Galactic Order. They want to commit genocide. Empress Silandra's golden eyes met his, and he saw confirmation of his fears. The Void Syndicate believes that immortal species like ours prevent the galaxy from evolving. They see us as stagnant forces holding back progress. And humans? Sam asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Humans are young enough to be molded into whatever the Syndicate needs. Your species would become their primary weapon against all the elder races. She gestured toward the battle raging overhead. This is not just about capturing you, Samuel. Chen. This is about the future of consciousness itself. Another wave of Syndicate ships emerged from hyperspace, and Sam felt the Dragon fleet's formation begin to buckle under the assault. Princess Lyra's distress flooded through him, carrying with it a desperate urgency that made his heart race. "She's trying to tell me something," he said, pressing his hand against his chest where the bond felt strongest. Dr. Kim's scanner began, beeping rapidly. "His cellular activity is spiking beyond safe parameters. Whatever's happening, we need to stabilize him before—" Her words were cut off as Sam's vision exploded into pure light. For a moment that felt like eternity. He found himself standing in a place that existed between spaces, facing a small golden dragon whose eyes held the wisdom of ages. "Lyra?" he whispered. "Sam?" she replied, her voice carrying harmonics that his physical ears could never have perceived. "The bond is ready, but what I must show you will change you forever." Before he could respond, knowledge flooded into his mind like water through a broken dam. The true history of the galaxy unfolded before him, cycles of rise and fall, species that ascended to godhood only to destroy themselves through hubris, the careful balance that elder races like the dragons maintained to prevent total chaos. He saw the Syndicate's true plan, not just to defeat the dragons but to harvest the life essence of every immortal species in the galaxy. They had developed weapons that could drain the soul itself, turning beings like Lyra into fuel for machines designed to reshape reality according to their vision. "But there's another way," Lyra's essence whispered to him, "something the Syndicate doesn't know about because it requires perfect trust between species." The knowledge she shared made Sam's mind reel with possibilities and dangers. The life bond between them was not just a means of preservation, it was the foundation for something that had never been attempted in galactic history. A true merger, he breathed, not just sharing essence but combining it into something new. "My people's immortality joined with humanity's adaptability and courage," Lyra confirmed. "It would create abilities that neither species possesses alone. But Sam, if we attempt this and fail, we will both cease to exist entirely." Sam felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Through the bond, he could sense the dragon fleet beginning to falter as more Syndicate reinforcements arrived. Empress Silandra was calling out orders with increasing desperation, and human evacuation ships were struggling to escape the expanding battle zone. "What would happen to the others?" he asked. "Your mother, the colony, everyone fighting up there?" "If we succeed, the merger will create a resonance that every dragon can feel across the galaxy. They will know that a new form of existence is possible, one that doesn't require the old barriers between species." Lyra's presence wrapped around him like warm starlight. "Your people and mine could become something greater than either could achieve alone." Sam thought about his quiet life as a barber, cutting hair and listening to travelers' stories. 3 days ago, his biggest concern had been paying rent on his shop. Now he was being asked to risk not just his life, but his very existence, for the chance to forge a new path forward for 2 entire civilizations. "There has to be a catch," he said. "Something this important always comes with a price." "The price is everything we are now," Lyra admitted. "We would cease to be human Sam and Dragon Lyra. What emerges from the merger would be something entirely new, carrying the memories and experiences of both, but fundamentally changed." Through the bond, Sam felt her absolute trust in his decision. She had already sacrificed her physical form to save him. Now she was offering to sacrifice her very identity for the chance to save both their species. In the command center around him, alarms were blaring as the first Syndicate ships broke through the defensive perimeter. Empress Silandra was shouting orders in multiple languages, trying to coordinate a fighting retreat. Human and dragon lives were being lost with each passing moment. Sam looked at Princess Lyra's shimmering form in that space between realities and made the choice that would define not just his own fate, but the future of consciousness in the galaxy. "Let's do it," he said simply. Lyra's joy blazed through him like a newborn star as they began the process that would either save their peoples or destroy them both in the attempt. The transformation began as a whisper in Sam's bones and became a symphony that rewrote the very structure of his cells. In that space between realities, He and Princess Lyra moved toward each other like binary stars finally surrendering to their gravitational dance. "Remember," Lyra's essence said as they touched, "we do this not for ourselves, but for all who will come after." The merger was unlike anything Sam could have imagined. His human memories, childhood on Earth, military service, the quiet satisfaction of his barber shop, flowed together with Lyra's draconic experiences spanning centuries. He felt what it was like to soar between stars, to see the birth and death of civilizations, to carry the weight of immortal responsibility. But more than that, he felt the fundamental loneliness that both their species carried. Humans, scattered across the galaxy in small colonies, always reaching for something greater than themselves. Dragons, immortal and powerful but isolated by their very perfection, watching younger races from a distance they could never bridge. Until now, the physical world returned to Sam's awareness with explosive force. He stood in the command center, but everything had changed. His vision penetrated through matter itself, revealing the quantum threads that connected all living things. His hearing picked up radio chatter from ships light years away, and flowing through his transformed body was power that made the air itself sing with potential. "Sam?" Dr. Kim's voice seemed to come from very far away, though she stood right beside him. "Your biological readings just... What are you?" Sam looked at his hands and saw scales of living light flickering beneath human skin. When he spoke, harmonics that no human throat could produce enriched his voice. "I'm still Sam," he said, and meant it. The merger had not erased his identity, but expanded it beyond anything he could have conceived. "But I'm also Lyra, and something new that we've become together." Empress Silandra stared at him with an expression of wonder and terror. "The bond resonance is cascading across the entire fleet. Every dragon in the system can feel what you've done." Through his enhanced awareness, Sam sensed the truth of her words. Across the battle zone, dragon warriors were pausing in their combat as they felt the emergence of something unprecedented. A bridge between species that offered possibilities none of them had dared imagine. But the Syndicate had noticed the change as well. "Multiple enemy vessels are breaking off from the main engagement," Admiral Ross reported, his voice tight with alarm. "They're converging on this position. Whatever just happened, they want to stop it." Sam felt the approaching threat. Through senses that existed beyond physical perception, dozens of Syndicate ships were racing toward the colony, their weapons charging with energies designed to disrupt the quantum foundations of life itself. "They have soul-killing weapons," he said, the knowledge flowing from Lyra's memories. "Devices that can unravel the connection between consciousness and existence. They're planning to use them on the colony to force me into the open." The implications hit him like a physical blow. The Syndicate would murder every person on New Geneva colony just to deny him the protection of civilian shields. Hundreds of thousands of lives would be sacrificed to capture or destroy what he had become. "We have to evacuate everyone," Admiral Ross said, already moving toward the communications array. "There isn't time," Sam replied, his transformed senses analyzing trajectory and weapon charge rates with inhuman precision. "They'll be in firing range within minutes." Empress Silandra placed a clawed hand on his shoulder. "The Dragon Fleet will defend this world with our lives, but against soul killers even our immortality provides no protection." Sam felt the weight of decision settling on him again, but this time he was not alone. Within his merged consciousness, Lyra's wisdom, combined with his human determination to show him a path forward that neither species could have discovered alone. "There is another way," he said slowly, "but it means taking a risk that could change everything." "What kind of risk?" the Empress asked. Sam turned toward the command center's main display, where the approaching Syndicate fleet appeared as red dots against the starfield. "The merger created something new in me, abilities that belong to neither human nor dragon alone. But to use them at full power, I need to extend the bond beyond just myself." Dr. Kim's scanner was registering readings that broke its measurement scales. "Extended how?" "To everyone willing to accept it," Sam said simply. "Human and dragon alike. A temporary sharing of essence that would give both species access to the other's strengths." The silence that followed was broken only by the distant sound of weapons fire as the Dragon fleet engaged the Syndicate's advance forces. "That's impossible," Empress Silandra whispered. "The physiological differences alone would kill most beings who attempted such a bond. Not if the connection is mediated through what Lyra and I have become," Sam explained. "We exist as a bridge now. Others could cross that bridge without being transformed themselves." Admiral Ross looked up from his tactical displays. "And what would that accomplish?" Sam felt the answer flowing through his enhanced awareness like water finding its level. Dragons would gain human adaptability, creativity, and willingness to take impossible risks. Humans would gain draconic power, longevity, and deep connection to the fundamental forces of the universe. He paused, seeing the full scope of what was possible. Together, we could become something the Syndicate never prepared to face. "The risks," Empress Silandra began, "are enormous," Sam agreed, "but the alternative is watching two species that could complement each other perfectly remain forever isolated while the Syndicate destroys everything we both value." Through the command center's windows, the first explosions of the approaching battle lit up the horizon. Syndicate fighters were breaking through the outer defenses and the soul-killing weapons would be in range within minutes. Dr. Kim stepped forward, her expression resolute. "If you need a volunteer to test the connection, I'll do it." "Sarah, no," Admiral Ross protested. "We don't know what it might do to you." "We don't know what the Syndicate weapons will do to any of us either," she replied. "At least this way, we're choosing our own fate." Sam felt Lyra's essence stirring within him, sharing her approval of the human doctor's courage. "The bond would be voluntary and temporary," he said. "Those who accept it would gain enhanced abilities for as long as the connection lasted, but they would return to normal when the crisis ends." "And if it works?" Empress Silandra asked. Sam looked at the tactical display showing the overwhelming odds they faced, then at the faces of those around him who were willing to risk everything for a chance at something better. "If it works, we don't just defeat the Syndicate," he said. "We prove that cooperation between species can create abilities that neither could achieve alone. We become the foundation for a new kind of civilization." The first soul-killer beams struck the colony's outer districts, leaving areas of absolute emptiness where buildings and people had simply ceased to exist. Time had run out for debate. "I'm extending the offer to everyone on this world and in the Dragon fleet," Sam announced, his voice somehow reaching every conscious being in the system through the quantum resonance of his transformed nature. "Human, or Dragon, you can choose to join with us temporarily and gain the strengths we both possess, but choose quickly." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across New Geneva Colony, humans felt the offer touch their minds and accepted with the desperate courage of those who had nothing left to lose. Above them, Dragon warriors opened their consciousness to the unprecedented possibility of truly understanding the young species they had dismissed for so long. The first connections blazed to life like stars being born. Sam felt Dr. Kim's consciousness merge with his enhanced awareness, and watched her eyes widen as dragonfire flowed through her human frame. Across the colony, similar transformations were occurring as humans gained the ability to perceive reality as dragons did, while in the fleet above, ancient dragon warriors suddenly understood the reckless optimism that drove humans to attempt impossible things. When the Syndicate's main assault force arrived expecting to face a divided defense, they instead encountered something that defied every tactical model in their databases. Human fighters moved with draconic grace and power, while dragon warriors attacked with human unpredictability and determination to protect those they had sworn to defend. The battle that followed lasted 3 days and became legend throughout the galaxy. When it ended, the Syndicate fleet had been utterly destroyed, not by superior firepower, but by the emergence of a new form of cooperation that multiplied each species' strengths while eliminating their weaknesses. In the aftermath, as temporary bonds faded and beings returned to their original forms, something permanent had changed. Humans and dragons had tasted what they could become together, and neither species would ever be content with isolation again. Sam stood in his reconstructed barber shop, trimming the hair of a dragon diplomat who had specifically requested his services. Through the window he could see construction crews, human and dragon, working side by side, rebuilding the districts damaged in the battle. "Do you ever regret it?" Princess Lyra asked, her presence still clear within his consciousness, though she now existed as an independent entity, sharing his transformed body. Sam considered the question as he worked, feeling the contentment of a simple task well done. Regret becoming the bridge that brought our peoples together? Never. Outside, children from both species played games that would have been impossible before the merger showed them new ways to think about cooperation. Above them, ships bearing the combined symbols of humanity and the draconic Imperium prepared for missions that would carry their new alliance to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Sam had started as a barber who simply wanted to save a wounded creature. He had become the foundation stone of a new age where the barriers between species could be crossed by those brave enough to trust in something greater than themselves. And in the quiet moments between customers, he could still hear the echo of that choice in the alley 3 months ago, when he decided that protecting someone who needed help was worth any risk. Some decisions, he reflected, really did change everything.